Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. This is the Camarilla Cafe, episode number 24. I am your host, Lou LaRocco, and I am joined tonight by Shane Farmer. How are you doing, Shane?
Howdy, folks. Doing pretty good, Lou. How about yourself?
I'm hanging in there, trying to keep tabs on Chris. I heard that something went wrong, something to the effect of a tube got stuck somewhere and fused in, and they're having problems taking it out. I pray for Chris. I pray that he comes back healthy and safe. Chris, if you're out there listening, I hope it works out for you. They get everything out that they need to. You know what I mean?
Who knew he'd get the shaft on vacation?
Our hearts are with Chris. He should be back on Friday.
Yes.
So we're waiting for his return. Outside of that, how's your weekend been?
Not too bad. A little busy and a little bit less sleep, a lot of phone calls, but I think everything's going well aside from a few weird emotional changes through the evening.
Okay. Through yesterday evening or the evening before?
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
Or
yesterday
this
evening.
Okay. So is that something we're going to be talking about in a few?
Yeah, I kind of think so. I mean, it was almost like a slap across the face, really.
I'm figuring. So there's a lot of stuff going around on social media. We've had a tremendous push on propaganda, mass formation psychosis, and a lot of other cultural things that we've been trying to backtrack to give people a better understanding to kind of apply it to now. And we've had a lot of stuff going on in the news right now that I think we probably should cover, especially being that it's so recent.
Most definitely.
Have you been noticing that all of social media, this is the only thing anyone's been talking about?
Yeah, it seems like it's been all over the place, and I've never seen memes go up so fast within just a few hours.
Yeah, there's thousands
Literally
of different
everywhere.
memes. I'm in like guitar groups and digital audio workstation groups and video groups, right? And every one of them already made a personalized meme of this event. So
It's almost as if they had the will to do it.
where's the button? No, that was the wrong one. No. There we go.
That's great.
Okay, so you would have done the drum sound, then the horror movie thing would have gone off in my head,
Yeah, right.
and then we got the crickets. So we've actualized what really would have happened in real life. So let's take a quick recap on, and I hate to do this. This is like the last thing I wanted to talk about, but I think this really applies to exactly what we've been talking about from a number of different angles. And we're going to get into all of those angles in a moment.
I feel like we need like a interlude of some timpani here, and then the Oscar goes to
Oh, God.
Will Smith and Chris Rock, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. I'm going to stop playing with the soundboard. Let's go. I'm going to stop playing with myself.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Uh-oh, Richard. Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the out of me.
Keep my wife's name out of your mouth.
Wow, dude.
Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane jump.
Keep my wife's name out of your mouth.
I'm going to, okay? Okay. That was a greatest night in the history of television. Okay.
Okay, so that's the clip. What's your first instinct after you see that?
I mean, my mind has gone so many different directions with this.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few parts that you really wonder, what was he really angry? I mean, because there's a point in his face where when he's walking back, you see his face kind of flush, and just before he goes up on the stage, you see his wife's face, and she has this look on her face like she was not too happy about the comment that was made. But right before that,
Yeah,
he was
he's
laughing.
He's laughing.
Yeah. So if you watch her reaction, just as he says it, she did not look very
right
happy.
there.
She looked like she rolled her eyes.
Mm-hmm. So then, and then even after he hits him,
Yeah.
look at his face. So like, so
it's real hard to say.
the first point I want to say, right? So they've reported already on this. This is the second worst rated Oscars in the history of the Oscars. It's the second worst rated. Okay, so they've been losing tremendously, and I want to attribute that to a lot of people becoming awake to the fact that who gives a fuck what these people do?
Yeah.
Nobody cares. Like, their lives are not our lives, not even close. We're in a total different world from these people, right? They can't understand what we have to go through with anything. Even if they had a normal upbringing and then hit it big, they're so far departed, especially with things that have been going on the last couple of years, like with the shutdowns and everything. They've completely lost track of reality, what it's like to be paying bill to bill, having medical issues and not having insurance. They don't know what that is, right? And they also don't know what it is to not have a spotlight on them every second. So my first point is, why does anybody care? Right? And I think it's a fair point to make. We shouldn't. We wouldn't have been watching this show anyways. Okay?
Yep.
My second point is, I believe this is fake. All right? Now let's not get into the Hulk Hogan-esque way. Notice how he's clenched before he even swings, right? We don't even have numerous angles on this. We have like 2 angles, which you could see a cameraman to the right off the bat. There's numerous cameras. There's another one up there floating around. There's another one up there floating around, right? You have numerous camera angles. This shouldn't be the only camera angle pretty much we have.
So I do have one fun thing to add. If this is staged, what do you think the next move would be for Will Smith?
Look, did you see that? Hold on. I hope I can get that again. Do you see the smudge across his face?
Yeah, I do.
That's his hand moving. Once it passes his face, that means optic-wise, it's already past it.
And all I really hear is that the microphone gets hit
Right.
on the lavalier mic.
Well, it could be a foot stomp. It could be anything. So chances are he didn't even hit him. Now watch this again very quickly.
Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the out of me. Oh, wow.
He stomps.
Oh,
See it?
wow.
You may not hear him smacking.
Oh, wow.
He stomped when he did it, which is like a famous wrestling move. That's what they do. They stomp. And there's mics under the stage, obviously, when you're watching the WWE. So,
Sure.
And reminder, second worst ever. And all the music awards have been dropping. Every show where all of these rich, let me use the term privileged for a moment. Let me have a shot at throwing that one out. All of these rich, privileged shows where they're giving each other awards, telling each other how fabulous they are. All of the rankings have been just dropping consistently. So very quickly, we got Debbie joining us on Facebook. Thank you for coming in, Debbie. So we have, it's the next big distraction. His body language going up to the stage did not seem rageful. And shouldn't Chris Rock have put his arms up in self-defense? Yes. But he already did have his face out and clenching. There was another angle where I saw that. There was a meme somebody put up concerning that, how he clenched. He was bracing himself for the hit. So, yeah, I think this is completely staged. Now,
Also, what would you think would be the next step after this footage here? and the nighttime settles going into the next day. Of course, subtracting all the memes too, but what do you think would happen next with Will Smith? What do you think he would do?
I don't personally care, but
Because I sent you something. He has already released his apology statement.
okay, but here's the thing, right? So supposedly Chris Rock's not pressing charges. So in their world, no security stops you from getting on the stage at any point that you want to. Nobody arrests him for he technically assaulted the guy.
Yeah.
That's assault. Okay? He either slapped him or he punch slapped him. If it connected, now we're going with the story here. Supposedly,
Yeah.
he slapped the shit out of him, which why weren't any guards coming up if this wasn't planned?
Well, this ties to another famous case that happens to be of the Super Bowl. I don't know if we could find a footage of that, but if you remember the Janet Jackson, Justin Timberlake situation, where it was an accidental failure, and then of course the mass apology, but then they censored TV and they created this loophole so they could have so many seconds buffered and running through a system so that they didn't want you to see it. They could hide it and block it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is just furthering the divide. Completely furthering the divide. Let's say that Chris Rock, which it seems at this moment in time, 90% of the people pushing for free speech and seem to be spitting a lot of reality out. Let me remind you of the Oscars speech from the writer of The Office 2 years ago when he was making Epstein jokes at everybody. I know he's your friend. I know he's your friend. He tore them apart. But a lot of the comedians are the ones that are pushing it. Even if they toe the line and they kind of assist the cancel culture, they're still the ones that are on the edgier side of things. And then you have the other side that doesn't want it because he shouldn't have said that, right? So let's say you put Smith on the left of it, and Smith represents the you're going to shut up, you're going to do all of these things. This column row, this is the culture we want men to start espousing to. And the other side that just got smacked in the face because it spoke up and then said, I won't talk about it anymore. Completely gave in. Look.
Dude, okay?
See?
Okay?
No!
I'm going to. Okay?
I'm going to. Submissively, done, has nothing to say. So instead of him coming back and clocking the dude or getting his bodyguard to kick his ass, no. And the other guy doesn't get ejected either. He gets an award later in which he gives a speech in which he represents love.
Practically following this, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then he went up and he said that he represents love, that people should love, that violence isn't an answer. So now, from that angle of the argument, what represents violence? The words?
That's very peculiar.
Mm-hmm. It would almost go along with what's happening culturally. All of the arguments we're having. So not only is it going to finally boost the ratings, because now, even if it's just replays, at least people are watching it. They're watching it. They're talking about it. They're putting it everywhere. And hopefully now that it's turning into Jerry Springer, they're going to get people watching next time. I guarantee it'll be on
Saturday Night Live this weekend.
Right. Now I want to go into another aspect of it, okay? So basically the joke. Now, before I start really ripping into the Will Smith character, I'm not going to say this is Will Smith. Remember, all of these people are actors. They are all actors, okay? So, can't wait for G.I. Jane 2. What were they talking about? So, Jada Pinkett Smith joke explained after Will Smith smacked Chris Rock. So, basically, she has what's known as, let's see, where did I put that? I think I took the definition down. How did that happen?
I think you did.
So, it's called alopecia?
Mm-hmm.
Let me take this down for a second. We're having some technical issues. So I just want everybody to realize, okay, so she's gone online and she's made the announcement that she's strong, she's battling, she suffers from something known as alopecia. Now, I don't want to downplay this. I just want people to understand what this is, okay? So she shaved her head because what she's experiencing is a spot baldness. It says, is a condition in which hair is lost from some or all areas of the body. Often it results in a few bald spots on the scalp, each about the size of a coin. Psychological stress and illness are possible factors in bringing on alopecia in individuals at risk, but in most cases, there is no obvious trigger. Now, here's the big thing I want to bring up, right? And don't get me wrong. There's been once or twice that I've lost like a patch. The condition does not affect life expectancy. Okay? It doesn't affect the life expectancy. So does that mean that if you make a bald joke to someone who lost their hair by the age of 19, that they deserve to get punched in the face or assaulted?
No, they shouldn't have that.
I mean, like, look, I understand if she had cancer. And don't get me wrong, look, it's a trashy joke. It's a trashy joke. That's what comedians do. Now you have to frame this out in what it is, right? It's not somebody who's having an issue and getting it pointed out, like a private citizen who doesn't have all their business on television, has not become a millionaire, multi times over, a famous millionaire. You know what they say about those jobs is you sold your soul to the devil, because basically for the fame, for the money, for the privilege of doing that job to make the amount that you're doing and living in high society, the trade-off is that your private life is gone. I'm not saying they shouldn't have a private life. If you want a private life, retire. It's common sense that it comes with the territory, that you're going to have spotlights on you non-stop. You're going to have spotlights on you non-stop. You're going to have paparazzi outside. You're going to have drones coming over. Look, it's the trade-off. If you don't want that, work for an office 9 to 5 with shitty health coverage, doing the same shit day in, day out, and fighting to pay for gas prices.
I do still find it peculiar that the hair loss is happening drastically all over the United States, actually the world. Many cases on the rise recently since COVID. And then, of course, they're going to try to tell you that it's COVID. And I know we got to be careful on how we say certain things, but there's a lot of evidence, even just released by different scientific research agencies, that are saying that certain frequencies can cause detrimental health effects, especially the 50 hertz, which is what removes the zinc from the body, which is causing a weakened immune system. But there are so many people that I know recently, and many of them are women, that have been losing hair all across the United States for the past few months, which is when 5G towers were ramped up and 3 and 4G towers were shut down. I find it very peculiar.
So the last trip I took to the doctor I've been seeing lately, she described it as long COVID, and saying, at least this is what she told me. I don't know how accurate it is, but I guess she's basing it off of her patients and everyone she's seeing, is that long COVID in females have been causing great hair loss. And I know that I continue to see her as my doctor because she did not push the pokety poke, right?
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I'm under the assumption that a lot of other people that are going to her are probably doing it for the same reasons. And that was part of the reason, was you're not going to push it on me. I've already had it. Whatever. I'll probably have it again. Who knows? But so she said one of the signs of long COVID in females was that there was going to be hair loss. But, look, it sucks. And if I knew somebody personally that had that, I would say, hey, is everything okay? I see there's something weird. Like I get it. It sucks. It's an obnoxious remark to make, but that's what comedians do.
Yeah.
They make obnoxious remarks. Now, we're normal people that are stressed out by far more than these people are. Because 90% of what we're worried about are our rights being taken away.
Yeah.
Money situation, getting sick with no medical, right? All of the above that these people don't have to worry about. And they're watching an entertainment show that supposedly was rehearsed. So they knew that joke was coming. So even the reactions are fake.
I mean,
The
you think
whole
about what we were just talking
thing.
about, how me being a testicular cancer survivor, and then you were just mentioning about your height or even the gray hair and the jokes we would throw at each other about me being half nuts or you being short or something like that.
Yeah.
And we don't get mad at each other.
It's not.
We just take it.
But even your situation is far more serious. I'm just presenting the fact that we've been making bald jokes for centuries. There are some people who genetically just do not get the right hand and cards. I know a few of them from high school. They were practically bald out of high school. Look, I feel bad for you. I'm sorry. But are you healthy? Are you alive? Okay, great. You know what I mean? I've heard short jokes my entire life. Is it killing me? No. Does it suck? Yeah, I guess so. It's better to make fun of it than sit around and bitch about it. You know what I mean?
I've known many guys that didn't have hair, and we just make comments. Even my dad made fun of his own self, of course, but many times I've even just said, "Hey, man, you're just here to shine."
Oh, see?
Yeah, and we never took it as offensive or anything like that.
See, you lucky you have all your teeth.
Yeah.
Because the cop will come over and say, "Why'd you hit him?" And he'll say, "He fucking talked about the shine on my globe." And he'd say, "Oh, that's good. It's not assault anymore." Okay. Now, the other thing I want to bring up is the societal constructs by which they're trying to convince people to live by, right? So one thing that I noticed online immediately, especially all over my Facebook, was that almost every woman that would consider themselves even partially a feminist, their remark on the whole situation was he was defending his family's honor. Yes, in a lot of, I even saw a lawyer say this, a fucking lawyer that's a female, say, "Hey, you know, you're looking at it as like he struck him and this and that, but he was defending his family's honor." Now you have to think to yourself for a second. The last point that I made, okay? What honor is he defending?
Yeah.
Okay? She decided to shave her head. I'm sure there are numerous things that she could have done, right? Jewish wives shave their head. It's religious, and wear wigs. There are a lot of other for roles in films, which was the joke he was making. They shave their head for the films. Like a lot of people now shave half of their head. It's a style. All right, so she didn't have to do it. I guess I don't know how bad it is, but she shaved her head. He made a joke about a shaved head. So where's the honor of the family in that remark? Where is the honor that's being defended? It's just ridiculous. But they're defending it because Will Smith is becoming the mainstream representation of the demasculization that they want to see in men. They want men to become more feminized, obedient, and do everything for the wife, no matter what it is. And Will Smith is becoming this because I want to remind everybody, Jada Pinkett Smith was the one that went out, cheated on Will Smith with somebody half his age from the 70s show, and then they did kind of like a, what do you call it? When they go to meetings, when the families go to like family meetings with the psychologist,
Group therapy.
They did like a therapy on television. Were you aware of this?
I was not aware of that. That's bizarre.
Yes. And he sat there, misty-eyed, crying, pretty much, saying how he accepts it and he's happy about it. And she was kind of like, not necessarily gloating, but kind of like, you know, saying very like solid, like, "Yep, that's the way it went. And we've fixed it. And he knows that this doesn't involve anything else." And he's just sitting there and you could tell it, you know, this is horrible. The dude's getting demasculized on a high level. So right now you have a guy who's not only an Oscar winner, he's winning the world. Apparently he can't keep his wife, or he's doing everything in his power to keep his wife. And just like you said, you noticed from the video, he was laughing. She rolled her eyes. Then all of a sudden he got up and he smacked the guy.
Yeah. Did you look at
So-
the response he gave as his apology and the words that he uses?
All right, I'll look it up. I'll look it up right now. I listen. I can only imagine.
Yeah, it's in the messenger. I did 2 screenshots.
He's becoming the representation of the demasculinization of men. This is what they want. Of course, they're going to say, oh, it's not violence. He's defending his wife's honor. Yeah, he also got cucked on a super high level. And he's still there. Will Smith can probably have any one of 80% of the planet. He's super rich. He's super known. He's in good shape. He's an actor. He's a household name. He could probably point out in the street and pick whoever he wants. Hey, you want to go out tonight? All right, great. He can have any woman he wants. He's chasing this one. This is what, and this is why I bring up feminist. That's what they want. He'll go with whatever she does. And now assault is okay.
Have you noticed one more thing about the whole situation that honestly was the first thing that popped in my head? Is Will Smith is the guy who was the rapper who always made that blanket statement that why do we have to have vulgarity and foul language in music? You don't have to put that out in rap music. Rap music can be clean and wholesome. It doesn't have to have that negativity. So when I first heard that last night, that clip, and just him dropping the F-bomb and everything, I was like, wow, that's Will Smith. It kind of blew my mind.
Yeah, well, the dude's getting chopped down to as low as a man as you can be. Now, look, I'm not saying if a guy feels as though that's the way he wants his relationship to be, that's the way he wants his life to be, hey, it's your choice, right? I'm not necessarily condemning it. I'm just calling it out for what it is. And he's becoming that model in pop culture of what they want.
Yeah.
So he says, violence in all of its forms is poisonous and destructive. My behavior at last night's Academy Awards was unacceptable and inexcusable. Jokes at my expense are part of the job, yes, but a joke about Jada's medical condition was too much for me to bear, and I reacted emotionally. Again, I question what medical condition means. I would like to publicly apologize to you, Chris. I was out of line and I was wrong. I am embarrassed and my actions were not indicative of the man I want to be. There is no place for violence in a world of love and kindness. I would also like to apologize to the Academy, the producers of the show, all the attendees, and everyone watching around the world. I would like to apologize to the Williams family and my King Richard family. I deeply regret that my behavior has stained what has been an otherwise gorgeous journey for all of us. I am a work in progress. Sincerely, Will. Well, he didn't get arrested. Is he apologizing from a jail cell? Any one of us, if we swung, would have been arrested. He wasn't. And now if you look at it from what I'm talking about, so if you take Will Smith and make him represent kind of one side of the ideology, then you have the other side that willfully stood there, ate it, and then said he won't talk about it anymore. He said it's done. She'll be out of my mouth. Think about it from that angle. And then I think personally it makes sense as to exactly why that was completely fake. It was a push for the ratings, and it was also culturally a statement. Because I mean, I'm not gonna go through my feed right now and put other people. Look, if you're gonna be on the podcast, you have to agree to it. We're very respectful in that manner. So I'm not gonna out people's remarks, but I will say that it does fall on the ends of ideology with the way a lot of people are kind of memeing about it. And there's certain people that are saying it's okay for assault because it's defending family honor. It's ridiculous. And I want to say what's up to I Am Not You. He's on Twitter right now. Says, you're feeding this nonsense by talking about it. It's what they want people to do. Ignore it. Well, it's absolutely everywhere. I feel like we need to kind of explain to people how this ties in, because it ties incredibly into the mass psychosis. It ties incredibly into that. And it's already, I know people hate the term echo chambering, but that's exactly what's happening. If you turn on social media, this is exactly what everybody is looking at everywhere. So I feel like, to a certain extent, a show like this, we should be pointing out exactly why and what it's doing.
You know, it's very peculiar. If you look, I'm going to send this to you as well.
Mm-hmm.
This is on Chris Rock's page on Instagram. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm cropping the image. I'll send it to you here in a second. And when you put the pieces together, it makes for a very interesting blended story. Look at that title.
Death of the Ego. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Ego Death World Tour, because they want you to be submissive.
Yeah.
And now, as a comedian, where are your limits to what you can say and what you can't?
It changes the whole game.
Right. So like I said, if somebody by the time they were 18 years old is bald, can you not make a joke about it? Can you not make a short joke? Can you not make a tall joke? Maybe some people don't like being tall. I don't know who doesn't like that. I wish I was a little taller.
It'll
Maybe
add
they
into
don't
the
like that.
the extreme censorship that they're going for.
Exactly. This is pushing right into that. It's pushing right into the culture. And it's kind of like their way of saying that if that's the way you think, shut up. Your ego's going. Because again, that was barely even a joke. Again, and I don't want to be insensitive to people that might have that. That sucks. I went gray in my mid-20s. It sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you could tell how much effort I put into fixing the issue. But still, it is what it is. If it's not a deadly thing, I mean, then you can't. And I mean, for most people to take sides on these ultra rich people, you know what? It's your job kind of to be in the public light. It's your job that people are going to see things that go on with your family. You accept that because you're accepting the fucking paycheck. You're accepting the fame. You're accepting all the millions of people that are doing every single thing that you do. Yeah. Right? So it's good to just take every fucking great part and then the rest of it just, make people feel fucking horrible about it and stop doing it. It just, I don't know. I've been pretty revved about it today. It annoyed me. I'm not going to lie. And so James Castelli jumped in. What's going on, man? Thanks for joining us. He's pretty much saying the same exact thing that I am not you said. This is a ridiculous topic to be talking about. It was clearly staged. I didn't watch the show because I have an IQ over 3. But I'm being forced to hear about it nonstop because of this incident. Who cares? None of these people affect my life in any way, shape, or form. Just giving them what they want, attention. Listen, this ties into exactly what we've been talking about for the past few weeks. And it ties in culturally with the archetypes they're trying to get people to act out. That is why we're covering it. I don't think, for anyone who's listened for the past half an hour, I don't think this is an ideological discussion on
there's something much deeper going on.
Yes, which is why we're covering it. So maybe people will stop paying attention to it. What do we play it once? We're getting accused like all over the place. But it's important to note people are falling on two sides of a camp again. That's exactly what they did with the pandemic. That's exactly what they're doing with the whole Ukraine situation. That's exactly what they're doing on this. So we're just pointing it out. And now you had something that you also wanted to to explain to people as well.
Yes.
A nice little warning. Now, before we get into it, give a quick brief on what KP index means.
The KP index is a measure of a geomagnetic storm or cosmic rays coming into Earth's atmosphere. And we're going to get into this later on, which you're either going to do it probably on this next coming Monday or possibly the Monday after, depending on which one we decide to do the Disney episode on, because I know Chris is excited about that.
He's going to wear his Mickey Mouse shirt.
After he gets done healing from that probe. But the KP index itself, if you look at the markers on the screen there, when it is in the yellow where you see it is there, or in the red for a number of hours, and that's based on projected from the sun from, say, a C, M, or X class flare, and of course, in order of those, the greater they get in intensity. That projecta, even the plasma filament speed, blasting from the sun, that radiation, cosmic ray energy, penetrates Earth's atmosphere. And remember, a weaker event can actually be stronger now because we have a weakened electromagnetic field of the Earth due to a pole shift we're going through. We're probably about 25, maybe even heading closer to 30% down in our fields of this planet right now, which is going to cause not only a increase of weather anomalies, but also increased events such as that. So
how do we measure that?
The KP is measured by NASA and some other agencies around the planet with special weather satellites. And basically, when this happens, when it activates, the storm actually will cause auroras, but also what a lot of people don't know is it can cause an increase of suicides, heart attacks, strokes, mental instability, anxiety. You'll feel your heart racing through your chest and not know why. You might even be having a hard time sleeping at night and not know why, and it could be because of this KP index. The same thing is true if it's not even charting and it's bottomed out all the way to the floor because it's not generating any signal because there's no energy to keep it balanced in the middle. It's kind of like a happy medium. If you're just floating away in the middle of the green, then that's where the happy medium lies. But if it's bottomed out for several hours or in the yellow or red for several hours, the same thing runs true. Just cosmic rays bombarding the atmosphere of Earth, coming in and causing health effects for us.
And what do they use to measure the actual atmosphere? Like you're saying, we're running at 30% down.
They have been charting that. They just did an update, I think in just early 2019, which just so happens to be when they had to modify global positioning systems because they realized that north wasn't true north anymore because it was heading towards Siberia and the South Pole was heading toward Australia, which eventually they'll meet and they'll come together in the Bay of Bengal and make a new North Pole. And then Ecuador will be the new South. But with that, that's also when they happen to have a major change and meeting. And then, of course, update an agenda is what a lot of people have come to the conclusion of to accelerate their global plan.
Now, how does a flat surface actually spin to do a new north and south?
They rotate. That's all I know. Basically, it'll change the equatorial line. We're going to be in the southern equator when the Earth does rotate.
Where we're living currently. You're talking to me. Or you're talking about the United States.
The United States. The whole United States will be in the southern hemisphere.
Really?
Yep.
Like really, really low? Like Antarctica level or?
So if you have the globe and you rotate it 90 degrees, basically if you look at where the United States is now, say it's right here.
Like upper
you're rotating north. Yeah, you're rotating it basically, and then you're changing the equilateral line. So
we're going to get kangaroos.
Well, I don't know if we'll get kangaroos, but it'll change our climate. And after the Earth goes through the pole shift, technically we're going to go into an ice age. But then once things level out, then the poles will accumulate the ice and we will become more tropical.
But that takes a long time, right?
It can.
Doesn't take a week. For the
No, it
ice
doesn't
age
take
I'm
away.
talking about.
As far as the Ice Age, with the whole actuality of that and when everything happens, that can happen almost like rapidly, because during the last shift with the micronova that we're going to talk about in the next week or two, basically that event blasted the sun against the earth, cooked half the planet, set us into an immediate ice age, and literally mammoths that should have withstood freezing cold temperatures froze in thick layers of ice in a matter of hours with the contents of their stomach undigested and frozen.
Yeah, some of them were still chewing plants, right?
Yeah.
The way they found a lot of them. So if somebody wanted to see the KP index in real time, where would they go?
They can actually do a search for the KP index. Even NASA should have some of that data on their site.
Okay, so if I search KP index, something should come up.
Yes, there's actually several different stations that view and report it. And it's good for people to know. There's even a chart that goes through to show you, if I could find it here. I've got it in our shared drive.
Okay, so one of them is from swpc.noaa.gov.
Mm-hmm.
And I have Space Weather Live. So this is one of them that I found. All right, the Space Weather Prediction Center, because they're really good at that.
Yes.
Meteorologists are always dead on. So, okay, so we're the 29th. Wait. So this is a prediction, because right now we're in the 28th. So this has been a full geomagnetic storm, is basically what
Correct.
that's saying. Over the
Correct.
Even today.
Download it. There we go.
Okay, so it just dropped. So I would imagine, like,
Yes.
right now we're right here, right?
Yes. And remember, at nighttime, it's on the opposite side of the sun. So basically, we have less
Or is
protection.
the sun on the opposite side of it?
We have less protection on the dark side of the planet. So basically, in the dark side of the planet, the field is weaker and can get more bombardment of cosmic rays. So usually the nighttime is more powerful than the day during these storms. And you'll even notice accidents and sirens happening all across town at the same time. It's kind of peculiar.
But now, why would that be? Would that be reflecting off the top of the atmosphere? If you're on the other end of it?
It's just that they come into the atmosphere. I'm not exactly sure the process of
And then
how
the
they come in.
atmosphere kind of encases it, and then the atmosphere distributes it the way it does.
Yes.
So it has
Yes.
nothing to do with where the sun's aiming, per se.
Correct.
As long as the sun's aiming.
And I sent you a geomagnetic storm graph. It's basically like a numbered system to show you low to high, along with the health effects.
Okay. Where'd you send that to? Facebook?
Yes.
So here we got it here. So 0 to 9.
Mm-hmm.
Why is 0 red and 9 is red?
0 is when it's bottomed out and it's not charting because there's no energy
And
hitting the
that's
field
dangerous.
to cause the field to react.
Mhm.
And if no energy hits the field to react, that means the field's not activated to even protect us from any radiation.
So 4 and 5 are where you want to be. 3, 4, 5.
Yes. Yes.
So I'd imagine even 6 and 7 is going to be a bad thing.
Yeah.
The color's kind of getting alerting. Even 2 looks, oh yeah, save zone. 2, 3, 4. So geomagnetic storm risks are heart rate fluctuations, heart attacks, strokes of all kinds, acute coronary syndrome, blood pressure increase, seizure, migraine risk, anxiety, stress, emotional instability, cognitive diminution. How do you say that? Diminution?
Diminution or something like that. Basically, cognitive issues, mental instability is the way I usually will mention it. So like people can get angry on the fly, which this KP was actually elevated last night when the award show went on.
I still think it was a total act.
Yeah.
Then we got suicide risk, mental disorder flare up, radiation risk for airline
Yes.
passengers in high latitudes. Okay.
Yes.
And then the acute coronary syndrome is an alert for diabetic patients and those with metabolic disorders.
And a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of scientists around the world know of this, and especially people at NASA, they know of this.
Well, obviously it's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whether they know of all the rest of the things you talk about, or believe it, sign off on it, that I'm not very sure. They've seemed to be kind of peeking into some of it, even with the Planet Nine.
Yes,
They've been occasionally saying we have another planet. Well, there's something there and we can't see it. Like they've been repeatedly saying that over and over again, and then kind of retracting on it, then saying it again, then retracting. Have you ever gone over Planet Nine?
I have some before.
Marduk.
Basically, I used to call it Planet X until they changed.
Same thing.
Yeah, but Nibiru and or however they say it.
Yep.
And some say that was the planet of the Anunnaki, and that they came here, and that they were the ones that Enoch saw, that became the fallen, that came down to modify us in their image to make us the workers, to reach out and dig for their gold and their other resources so that they could come here and harvest it from us, take it back up to create a new atmosphere for their planet because they destroyed theirs.
Well, and that's another deviation from, I mean, we're going to get into all of the theories that you have and follow, but that's another deviation that they kind of use, is that, so a lot of what you're going to be talking about comes from natural occurrences that come from our sun and our solar system, whereas
that's right.
A lot of the events classically have been blamed on Planet X because it has a 12,000 year rotation.
Yes.
And it's, I guess you would call it elliptical orbit. Kind of erratic,
a wide elliptical orbit.
Wide, just cuts through, has hit into a couple of planets on the way in and on the way out, and caused gravitational pulls.
Correct. And for our listeners out there, remember that everything that we share here in this this show is basically for entertainment purposes, but there are a lot of truths. But the important part for you to remember is to make your own truth of this. And we're not going to tell you that one thing is wrong or right or wrong. We're just sharing all the information that we've accumulated because Lou and I, as well as Chris, even though Chris is off with Mickey Mouse right now, we all dive in deep in many topics so that we can come up with great content for the show so that you have something to open your mind a little bit more.
I have to kind of make an ideological challenge to something that you said. You said your truth. And
yes.
I believe that there is truth is static. Like truth cannot be bent, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I don't gel well with that saying, like my truth. Like it's okay to say that something else isn't the truth as long as it's not like something right in front of you. Like this is a mouse that's right to my right. Like, all right, that's a mouse. Like there isn't another thing it can be. But I feel like that phrase is used very haphazardly and used for a lot of different things that may or may not be truth. I mean, I understand the use of my truth in my personality, but you know what? We're going down a major rabbit hole right now.
Yes.
Because this is kind of the line of thinking that this whole thing has set me off into. Yep. You know what I mean? I'm looking at what's happening culturally. I'm looking at what people are talking about, what they're debating, what they're arguing about. Like the other thing we kind of didn't cover has been the male swimmer. Whoop.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. That may have been hate speech. She who won.
Careful, they might cut you off.
Oh, dude, that may have actually done it. You notice I got quiet? I was like, oh, no. Whatever.
But then
it is what it is.
And you can go swimming for the team.
Like we didn't even get into that, but all of this stuff ties in, and that's what people have to understand. The more you notice each one of these things tying in, the more you'll start to realize how fake all of this stuff is, how intentional it is. It's all part of a dogma that they're like shoving down your throat through television, through radio, through media.
I continue to question everything.
Trust nothing. That's
Yeah.
right. That's good that you memorized that. I don't even say it all the time. I thought it was a good saying when I put it up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, this all ties in. And then once a lot of people start actually kind of saying it, agreeing with it. So we got right here mass formation psychosis and the need for a DSM of social psychopathologies. So I pulled up this article haphazardly earlier. Oh no, I already see of racism. Let's get a definition on this so that everybody can kind of see it. And the funny thing is, I think it got pulled down because they're trying to argue against it. So here, just what is mass formation psychosis? Oh no.
Gotta love their advertisements and whatnot.
So there's a theory espoused by Robert Malone, MD, regarding public health behavior. Malone, he postulates that promoting messages encouraging people to get whatever, to get the poke against the vid, among other scientifically validated pandemic communications, is an attempt to hypnotize groups of people to follow these messages against their will. And that's just think Nazism. So this theory has been shared widely across cable news and social media, in large part because Malone was interviewed on Joe Rogan's popular podcast. But is it even a legitimate medical idea? So they're claiming that it's not. I wish I can get a definition on this. I wish I had it ready.
I mean, personally, there's a belief in myself that it's a massive brainwashing to the whole entire planet.
Yes. So here, so it says that basically Malone, who calls himself a consultant and former pathology and surgery professor, opposes the pro-poking messages being propagated by federal agencies and public health leaders. These messages are being applied to manipulate people into getting poked, he has argued. So now, if you go back to our episodes when we were talking about the propaganda and you know, saying join the military and you know, the woman's
Rosie the Riveter.
yes. And then I segued it into this topic, and they were basically using the same exact posters. You're getting a mass amount of people behind a movement, and you're getting them all to unquestionably fall into that movement.
And nostalgic propaganda at that to get the older clientele.
Mm-hmm. So now it says such action is an example of mass formation psychosis. When society becomes decoupled from each other and has a free-floating anxiety in a sense that things don't make sense, then their attention gets focused by a leader or series of events on one small point, just like hypnosis. So that, again, aligns in exactly what we're dealing with in our time.
Yep.
You know, during the whole pandemic, you're kind of fighting an imaginary, invisible enemy. You could kind of tell if somebody has it because they might have the sniffles, but somebody else might not have the sniffles but still be carrying it. But if I walk outside, it might get in the air, but it's not in the air. So if I stay in the house, maybe it won't get me. But the air system that I have pulling air from the outside may actually bring it into me if they're not wearing a certain thickness of a mask. And if it's not this, so you're battling an invisible enemy.
Yeah. So Debbie sent you something that you might tie into this, as well as I think it would be interesting to look up the effects of radiation poisoning.
Okay. I'll look at that in like 2 minutes. But I just really want like people to understand like where this theory is coming from. And it says they literally become hypnotized and can be led anywhere. They will follow that person. It doesn't matter whether they lie to them or whatever. The data is irrelevant. And we've witnessed this. We've witnessed numerous political pundits, show hosts literally give the wrong news, the wrong advice, the wrong. If you look through every step of what we just went through in the past 2 years, and people still defended them ardently when they admitted that they had lied.
It feels like a larger version of Comet Hale-Bopp.
Mm-hmm. But this is what I'm saying, and this is why I'm saying what happened last night is a tie-in, because they're giving you, they're giving people walking, breathing versions of who they idolize. They're turning them into the stereotypes of what they want people to kind of blend into. And this is exactly what's happening. So here, I'll take a look at what she sent very quickly. Oh man, that one's going to be a heavy one. I know they really don't like this topic.
Yeah, they don't.
So let me see what this is right here. So I do want to point out is that, and I pointed this out on older episodes as well. They had a problem at one point. These towers were going up. And I'm not sure if it was in Britain or where it was, but people were literally pulling the poles down, like tearing them down.
Yep, they sure were.
And this happened right before we walked into the pandemic. Like right before it. So this... Wow, I want to... Should we cover this?
I think it'd be really interesting. It all ties together. I think it's all part of a massive, massive plan.
Ooh. So the virus. Viral infections or... I don't know what words to use to cover this up. Or 5G...
A towering inferno?
or radiation sickness. Viral infections and radiation sickness exhibit similar symptoms. China and Italy, where the most COOF cases are being detected, have led the way in tower installations. Few countries across the globe have banned these towers. Could the COOF be misdiagnosed as radiation exposure from our need for high-speed internet? We've outlined key facts and information for you here, but as always, we encourage you to do your own research into this topic. A petition on change.org signed by approximately 50,000 people is asking for the halt of the towers in the U.S. Currently, 21 U.S. cities have had these towers installed. Overall, there are more than 400 petition search results worldwide with hundreds of thousands of signatures to stop this. Scientific authorities and people around the globe have come out against these high-speed internet towers. And here's a link to view and sign this largest U.S. Petition to stop it. And yes,
add to that, just as a little interlude, there are literally, and you can do a search on your own, over several hundred peer-reviewed scientific research documents by highly qualified scientific specialists validating this information and the increased oxidative stress, split DNA strands, and a multitude of other bad health effects brought on about this.
I mean, it could be a situation where you're getting hit on all ends, right?
Yep.
Theoretically. So it says here, radiation sickness is illness and symptoms resulting from excessive exposure to ionizing radiation. There are two main types of radiation, non-ionizing and ionizing. Non-ionizing radiation comes in the form of light, radio waves, microwaves, and radar. These forms usually don't cause tissue damage. Ionizing radiation causes immediate effects on human tissue. X-rays, gamma rays, and particle bombardment, which is neutron beam, electron beam, protons, mesons, and others, give off ionizing radiation. This type of radiation is used for medical testing and treatment. It is also used in industrial and manufacturing purposes, weapons and weapons development, and more. So, high-speed internet wireless technology is a form of non-ionizing radiation. Non-ionizing radiation is relatively low-energy radiation that doesn't have enough energy to ionize atoms or molecules. It's located at the low end of the electromagnetic spectrum. Although considered less dangerous than ionizing radiation, overexposure to non-ionizing radiation can cause health issues. High-speed internet is a cellular technology that requires the installation of 800,000 or more new antenna sites in the U.S. close to where we live, work, and play, according to Scientific American. Well, yeah, because it's traveling like half to a quarter of the distance,
Yep.
just
So you
way
look at
faster.
the 5G tower repeaters that they have just in neighborhoods. Literally every block, practically, even in downtown Cool Springs, if you look there, they've got them everywhere. And
Really? So they already had them up.
oh yeah, and they're putting them in many. They're putting them in new residential neighborhoods. I've already seen them all around town here, even in different neighborhoods.
Because I don't know. It doesn't say it on my phone. But then again, I'm using Wi-Fi. Let me see if I shut the Wi-Fi off. Wouldn't it say that number with that anyways, if that's what the phone is tuned for?
I would think it might. It just depends on the service, probably. I don't know.
Because mine says it. Eek. So,
But I've known some people who had gotten a Wi-Fi distribution box that was actually 5G, and immediately upon plugging it in, getting it activated, their whole family came down with flu-like symptoms. And then they decided to unplug it, pack it up, and they took it back the next day, and everything disappeared and they felt fine. I thought that was very interesting.
yeah, well, isn't it settled science that they've warned people that if they have their cell phone in their pocket, if that's exactly where they carry it for too long,
Yeah.
you can end up developing testicular cancer.
Yes,
And you can develop brain cancer if you hold it to your head too much.
correct. Even the Bluetooth in the inner cranium, well, basically in the ear canal itself, can cause tumors to develop. And the new Bluetooth technology goes a lot farther distance now too, and even pairs with other devices like what the Ring network and all of those, Alexa, every one of those types of devices, they connect to each other and create almost a web of frequencies.
So AirPods is the same thing.
Same thing.
Well, I should really wear those a lot less. I wear them for work. I wear them 10 hours a day.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Now you know why I can't read this without stuttering. So cell phones emit radio frequency radiation, radio waves, the form of non-ionizing radiation from their antennas. Parts of the body nearest to the antenna can absorb this energy, according to cancer.gov. Over time, the number of cell phone calls per day, the length of each call, and the amount of time people use cell phones have increased. Radiation exposure can cause low white blood cell counts, which increases the risk for infections. Many things affect how radiation therapy affects the immune system, such as the total radiation dose. Mayo Clinic cites symptoms of radiation sickness as weakness, fatigue, fainting, confusion, bleeding from the nose, mouth, gums, and rectum, bruising, skin burns, open sores on the skin, slowing of skin, dehydration, diarrhea, bloody stool, fever, hair loss, and inflammation of exposed areas, so redness, tenderness, swelling, and bleeding. Symptoms of viral infection include fever and chills, a runny or stuffy nose, cough, sore throat or hoarseness, headache or pain and pressure around your eyes, muscle aches and joint pains, shortness of breath or wheezing, abdominal pain, cramps and diarrhea, nausea, vomiting, or loss of appetite. More than 500 studies have found harmful biological or health effects from exposure to RFR at intensities too low to cause significant heating. According to Scientific American, in an article entitled "We Have No Reason to Believe That High-Speed Internet is Safe." Citing this large body of research, more than 240 scientists who have published peer-reviewed research on the biologic and health effects of non-ionizing electronic fields, EMF, signed the International EMF Scientist Appeal, which calls for stronger exposure limits. The appeal makes the following assertions. Numerous recent scientific publications have shown that EMF affects living organisms at levels well below most international and national guidelines. Effects include increased cancer risk, cellular stress, increase in harmful free radicals, genetic damages, structural and functional changes of the reproductive system, learning and
Putting
memory.
infertility.
Learning and memory deficits, neurological disorders, and negative impacts on general well-being in humans. Damage goes well beyond the human race, as there is growing evidence as harmful effects to both plant and animal life. So you said there are home routers that are using this for the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
How do you know? What speed does it have to be running at that?
That I'm not sure exactly, but it has to do with frequencies.
Okay.
I remember the other thing with the Chinese National Science Foundation, just about a couple weeks ago, with their research that they funded the program, like 3 or 4 scientists were involved in that, where they discovered that the 50 hertz frequency caused the body to lose its stores of zinc, so that basically it would lower your immune system's functionality and cause taste and smell to disappear.
Okay. So that all has to do with the range. There is not necessarily its higher performance, but it doesn't actually have a number. Okay. Here's one. 5 can be significantly faster than 4, delivering up to 20 gigabits per second. Peak data rates and 100 plus megabits per second. Average data rates. That's fast.
Yeah, it is.
And it's lower latency. So it's moving really, really fast. Yeah, there have been a lot of links between this and the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'll use that term because I don't want to say too many things that kind of.
I know that other thing, when it first came out, is when they first activated those towers, also in China.
Okay, so we could skip right to that. In fact, Wuhan was one of the initial 16 cities selected to trial back in 2018. Wuhan City, the capital of Hubei, is expected to have 10,000 G base stations by the end of 2019. China Unicom will begin testing G network in 16 cities, including Beijing, Tianjin, Qingdao, Hangzhou, Nanjing, Wuhan, Guiyang, Chengdu. Am I doing a good job with this? Shenzhen,
Surprisingly.
Fuzhou, Zhenghao, and Shenyang. Watch, somebody will come on here and say you said every fucking one of those wrong. China Mobile will conduct external field tests and set up more than 100 G base stations in each of the following 5 cities: Hangzhou, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Suzhou, and Wuhan. That's interesting. So now the 21 cities that have access in New York to the G network is Atlanta, Austin, Texas, Charlotte, North Carolina, Dallas, Houston. Charlotte, North Carolina, Dallas, Houston. Okay, Dallas, Houston, because it doesn't say Texas after them, so I got confused for a second. Indianapolis, Jacksonville, Florida. Why do some of them say what state they're in? Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Louisville, Kentucky, Nashville, Tennessee, New Orleans, New York City, Oklahoma City, Orlando, Florida, Raleigh, North Carolina, San Antonio, San Diego, San Francisco, San Jose, California, and Waco, Texas. That's interesting. And then Italy.
Yeah.
July 2019, Reuters reported Italy's biggest phone group, Telecom Italia, and rival Vodafone agreed on Friday to merge their mobile tower infrastructure and to jointly roll out G in Italy. Telecom Italia has already deployed pre-standard G in Rome and Turin and recently added Naples. TIM will further extend G service to another 6 Italian cities, including Milan, Bologna, Verona, Florence, Matera, and Bari. That will also include 30 tourist destinations, 50 industrial districts, and 30 specific projects for big businesses with speeds of up to 2 gigabits a second.
T-Mobile launched their nationwide 5G network on December 2nd of 2019.
Really?
Uh-huh. And looks like other 5G in the state of Tennessee around the same time in Nashville.
Yeah, they had the polls up here. It was pretty much you got locked down, and by the time you got out, it was up.
Uh-huh.
It almost felt that way because I never saw anybody installing anything.
Yep.
That's very strange. So basically, but does everybody have it by now in 2022?
I don't know. I would say so. They've been building those things like crazy, even hiding them in what looks like a fake pine tree or a fake cactus. I've seen a whole bunch of weird stuff.
Well, something that I find odd is everybody constantly says we live in a democracy and it's a democracy and protect the democracy and this is a threat to the democracy. But when things like this happen and there are a lot of people that are against it vocally, where is the vote that dictates whether or not they're allowed to do this on people's property, on their corners? Yeah. Like, there's never a vote with these gigantic companies. There is never a vote on whether they can do something or not. It's always
there's nothing stopping them from coming into your front yard tomorrow morning and putting one up.
Yes, I've seen that. They were just placing it on people's yards, like right in the front.
Yeah,
I forgot where that was. I saw the photo of that though.
I saw one right down. I forget the road. Right in Spring Hill, with a whole lot of houses going up. I mean, there's a lot of construction on the other side on a farm, but literally there's a house there and then there's a pole right next to it, like literally right in the backyard behind the house.
Like they used to have to get permits to do things like that.
And you'd think that they would go to the house and see if the neighborhood would permit it and everyone vote on it to allow it before just saying, hey, yeah, go ahead. You're giving me money. So yeah, this town, since you're paying the town, we'll go ahead and put it up.
Okay, so now that I'm seeing right here, I was trying to figure out what my home router is doing, and it is doing that. Depending on your coverage, maximum download speeds often range from 1 gigabit second to 10 gigabits a second. So I think I have 1 gigabit internet, I think.
Yeah.
So it is considered that. My router's running at that.
Yeah, I think mine is too.
Can you switch it off? I'll
you
take
can
slower
unplug it at
internet.
night, but even with all the other towers around you, I don't know how much good it would do.
You're just constantly just inundated in it.
Yeah. Now I have looked into other things where you can actually build and construct, or you can make basically a Faraday cage in your house if you wanted to, or you could get this paint that is like a metallic paint and literally paint your walls. It's like black. And then you have to have somebody put a grounding plate on the wall to connect to the paint and then ground it. And then you paint over that. And it's like $50 or more for one bucket of the stuff.
That's not a lot. There are some paints that are like $60.
Yeah.
For a bucket.
So
I think the paint I used in this room was pricey. It's a vinyl.
So there's people who will literally go and paint their whole house in that stuff now just to block the frequencies, and then they get special windows, and then they turn their Wi-Fi off at night so that the house lowers the amount of radiation within it.
Really? So what do you think? And speak in code so that we don't get kicked off.
Honestly, I don't believe in the COOF. I think that it was generated in a means of this way through frequencies, and that the other part was all propaganda, if you will, to make many dollars and to poison a population with many different experiments.
What do you think of the Koof Poke?
That's what I mean. I believe that those were experimental to alter genetic strands,
So that
maybe
you're not as affected.
maybe even a Russian roulette of who would have bad health effects versus no effects at all, based on the draw that you got at that time.
Do you think
But
that it's
I've
meant to combat this?
no, not at all.
You think
If
it's to
anything,
assist it?
it could be just the opposite. It could make it so that you can become more connected with 5G.
That's interesting. If anyone wants to throw some comments in, I've noticed we've been very quiet tonight, but we do have numbers. I could see all of this, and everybody's been spookily quiet outside of the complaints about the Will Smith situation.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like everybody. Debbie's contributing. That's great. Kay has sent in a couple of messages too. She actually wrote in something that I just responded to her directly, and she said a long coof equals 5 gigahertz, and said, could it be possible? And I wrote back, potentially. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, because a lot of people are having drawn out issues with it. Me being one of them. I'd like to say hello to
When you
everybody.
think of it this way, your body is electric. The universe is an electromagnetic universe. Your heart emits electromagnetic frequencies. And think about this bombardment of all these other frequencies around us and the increase of health effects. I mean, many on this this show tonight listening, I'm sure they could look back and they can see the increase over the past 3 decades of health issues, especially cancer and other sickness and disease. And before that, it wasn't near as high. I mean, cancer when I was young was rare.
Yeah.
And now it's like a modern thing, just like a cold. Oh, you got cancer? Oh, me too. Let's celebrate. That's what it seems like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know the funny thing, and I guess I'll talk about it for a moment on air too. I recently started a new diet, and a lot of people made a comment at me, and the diet's especially like it's very controversial and it's very against the direction that society is trying to take everything. So a lot of people told me, be really careful. You're going to harm yourself. Chris is one of them that said that to me too. He said, be really careful. You could really harm yourself doing it. And I didn't tell anybody, but I was very slowly leaning into it for a course of a few weeks because I was trying not to put any pressure on myself because everybody knows when you try and make a commitment like, that's it, I quit today, or like, I'm going to do it at this moment and I have 7 people who are going to keep me to it. Like anytime there's pressure, there's just so much easier of a time to cave, right? So I very slowly kind of leaned into this diet and said, all right, I'm going to eliminate this. I'm going to eliminate this. I'm going to eliminate this. And I'm going to do it when I feel like it, but I'm going to do it. So finally, last week, I made the decision to, that's it. We're good. I am going full in on this diet. And I almost feel as though every single thing, like the way that article said about mass formation psychosis, the free anxiety, the bombardment of confusion.
Yep.
I'm starting to feel as though everything is, and I think I've said it on this show before. I think there's really a war against us. Like, and that's not an understatement. It is a full-blown war. And everything seems like it's designed to hurt you. And all of the information seems to be the total opposite. Now, I'm not a health expert. I know I have to say this. I'm not a health expert by any means. I'm not a doctor. You don't need to listen to me. I'm not claiming that I know exactly. I'm just giving my perspective on things. I've been feeling better doing a diet that everybody said that I had to be really careful and everything was going to go worse. And the funny thing is, all the way leading in, nobody could tell anything was happening. And then the second I made the decision to stick with it, I felt better. But some of the things I've learned along the way, You know, 80%, I got to check the statistic. 80% of food in the United States has sugar in it. You know, when they constantly talk about how diabetes is becoming like its own pandemic? Like they said something like 40% of society is pre-diabetic. If everything you're eating and drinking has sugar in it, how is that not going to happen? Right? So right off the bat, putting sugar in everything is designing you to fail. We can also get into fluoride in the water. We can get into the fact that they were trying to get you to get a poke by giving you free donuts when they've proven that people with health conditions or people that were overweight were way more at risk of being harmed by it, right?
That's why I say they do not care about us. They can tell you they care, but they really don't care.
It's almost seeming like if they say something to you, the total opposite is the truth. And it seems to be across the board. And we're suffering a mass confusion. We're suffering a situation where people are so confused that they're grabbing onto something to be their Sherpa, to be their truth, quote unquote. Like, this is the person that will tell me, will lead me through this, because everything is just a total bombardment. The funny thing is, everything kind of lines up with all of this the past few years.
Yep.
Everything. I almost feel like they want to keep you sick. They want to keep you not feeling that well. One big thing that I was talking with I Am Not You about the other day is fasting. And
Fasting is huge.
He actually threw a few things in here on Twitch. Let me read them. It says, high fructose corn syrup and the adding of soy to every food product is the cause of the rise in cancer and several other health issues. And aspartame in the diet food varieties. You are not
glyphosate.
You are not a customer of Big Pharma if you are not sick. Yeah. They're just, I went 28 hours without eating. 28 hours, and I barely realized. I only realized it because I was busy at work, and I was like, when am I going to get a chance to eat? But I went almost 28 hours without anything. I didn't drink a tea. I didn't drink a fruit. It was all water. I didn't snack. Not a cracker, not anything. I went 28 hours, and I felt fantastic. And I think the last time, not even carbs, but the last time I had sugar must have been weeks ago, if even. And then you have to be aware of what types of things convert to sugar in your body. Because if you don't know that, then you're just eating things and not even aware. So again, I don't know what kind of diabetic pandemic we're running into. The system is designed to fail you. And they tell you got to eat 3 times a day to be healthy. I haven't eaten 3 times in a day for years. And when I do, I actually feel kind of worse. I feel like I'm stuffing myself all day. I'm fighting. I was dieting a couple of years ago, and I wouldn't call it keto, but we were doing the BMI mass index readings and doing macros. So it breaks into proteins, it breaks into fats, and it breaks into carbs. And you have to get a magic number in the middle, magic combination of everything. And once that happens, it's going to light your metabolism on. Now, don't get me wrong, I was losing weight. I was also working a very, very physical job. So what was making me lose the weight is very unclear right now. But I would go there and I'd be hitting like a plateau, and they'd be like, oh, you need more carbs. And if you up the carbs, you'll lose the weight. Just grab 2 pieces of bread and eat it. Like, they were making me eat more.
You're actually lowering insulin resistance, and that's why you're losing the weight.
Right. Not to say that does not work.
Yeah.
But there are ways to eat way less and still be healthy and lose the weight. And it's an obvious evolutionary thing. It's blatant. And I Am Not Used to several studies have suggested that intermittent fasting, either every other day or several days in succession every month, can reverse type 2 diabetes. Yes. I have not had a sugar craving now in weeks. I have not gotten angry from being hungry in weeks. I have not eaten candy. And everyone who knows me personally knows that I used to have bags of candy in the bag. No more. No more. So, I don't know. I mean, we do run a conspiracy show, right? So,
Yeah.
one would imagine that we're going to question what you're being told. But I've been getting very passionate about it recently because now it seems like things are really adding up. And there's not much you can trust at all. There's not much in the way they're leading you, in the way they tell you should do things that seem to be correct.
I just shared two things with you. You're welcome to share if you want to. Basically it was me, and I grew up on that same kind of diet, believing everything that they said, went to the doctor all the time, got allergy shots in both arms every week or every other week. I had asthma and allergies. I was on different medications, and basically I was heavy. I was 250 pounds. And then I started to change, and I went to an all organic diet, and I didn't realize how poisonous the food was. That was me right there. Yeah. And basically,
you make that guitar look like a ukulele. Don't slap me in the face. Don't punch me. I'm sorry. It'll never come out of my mouth again. I was just going to say, what are you playing, a uke there? That's a full-size body. Whoop.
So basically, then I went.
And he went to this.
The left picture there was me 10 years ago. And remember, I told you I was coming off of medications and stuff. My hair had gotten thin. And once I got off those medications, my hair got thicker. And now that picture on the right is me now. And that was by going all organic, cutting out all the sugars, and basically no more high fructose corn syrup, no genetically modified foods, no more of that conventional stuff in the store shelves, because it was all poison. And I just didn't know better.
And now you're He-Man.
Yeah, right.
Here is Shane with his ukulele. Those are big guitars. I shouldn't be saying anything because you're like double my height almost. So that thing would look like I'm carrying a boat on my chest. But you actually, to be honest, you weren't that big.
Yeah.
You're in a lot better of shape now. That's not.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but I wouldn't say, I know a lot of people that are a lot larger than where you were. I'm probably larger than where you were at that picture.
It is amazing to see the transformation, though. I feel like I lost half of me.
And this is mostly just eating. This isn't but you have put exercise in as well.
Oh, yeah. I do push-ups, pull-ups, crunches, chin-ups, stuff like that. Resistance.
Yeah.
That calisthenics really makes a difference.
Yes. Yes. One way I've always lost weight when I needed to was by using a TRX, which is all calisthenics. Yeah. And it's just body weight. It's easy stuff. It's very light pressure on your wrists, on
yes.
You know, and it's very, I can't say it's very hard to get hurt, but it's harder to get hurt using that than using really heavy weights and doing those kind of cliche, how much can you bench and things like that. I think I spoke about this last on Friday, but I've had family members. I remember when I was younger, a lot of my family made it into like their 80s, early 90s, and they did nothing but smoke cigarettes and drink black coffee. And not that I'm saying that that's good for you.
Yeah.
But they also weren't on many medications at all.
Correct.
They barely even went to the doctor. Unless they needed something
bacon
replaced.
And eggs every day.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Fattening
raw milk.
Italian food. Raw milk, yeah. Like everything that they would tell you is bad for you right now, they did. Mm-hmm. And it seems to me like average lifespan is going down. Medical journals keep saying it's going up. It looks like it's going down.
It does.
And even as it's going down, people are starting medications younger because they're not solving the problems. They're treating the symptoms. And it looks like they're starting the symptoms.
And the other thing I had learned as time goes on is you take over-the-counter or prescription meds, and it actually blocks your body's absorption of different vitamins, minerals, and nutrients.
Yes. And the lists of side effects where you got to take other things to combat the side effects. Yeah. I definitely thought that I was headed in a diabetic direction. I thought I always had candy on me. I was like, oh, I'm gonna get that racy feeling again. I'm gonna have to have a piece of candy. It'll knock it out of me. I did not think I was gonna get away from that, and I'm easily away. It was a lot easier than I thought it was gonna be.
Like my asthma, I learned was dehydration. I had no idea. Of course, I didn't drink water much back then. I kept Coke and I mean, I should have bought stock in Coca-Cola because I drank so much Coca-Cola all the time. But my asthma was a factor of dehydration. And then, of course, my allergies, taking Zyrtec all the time, made me dependent on it, that it threw off my histamine levels. And when I stopped, I itched like crazy to the bone for 2 weeks. It was insane. And literally, I was having violent mood swings, going through withdrawals of it. I never thought that would be possible with an allergy med. And then the nightmares I would have were freaky as all get out, like dead babies in trees and stuff like that. Very bizarre. And then I started talking to other people about it, and they're like, you got to be kidding. My kid's on that stuff, and they've been talking about the craziest dreams, like similar to what I had. It's very weird.
Yeah. And
so they got their kids off it immediately.
I am not, you just said problem, reaction, solution. Yeah. It's almost every single thing they recommend just seems like it's bad for you. Everything. Yeah. I mean, we could go on and on and on in a giant list. And I am not you also says they make you sick and keep you alive as long as possible, a lifelong customer. Yeah. It seems that way. All you have to do is light workouts, just walk, move. Debbie wrote into Facebook. Well, she had written a while ago, 17 minutes ago. Shane may remember that they hide them in artificial trees and other things. So she's referring to the G boxes. Yes. And she also says in using resistance bands that we have on our website.
Oh, yeah.
Shameless plug. But you can give the plug. That's the cue.
Go to the REMRAF partner page and you can find the resistance bands that we use. You can do variations from 10 pounds resistance all the way up to 150. And all you need is your door frame, and you can do basically any kind of exercise with them. And it really makes a difference. I mean, hey, it's done pretty well for me. So
yeah, He-Man.
And what people don't know is doing resistance training actually helps you build human growth hormone, which is what keeps us youthful and keeps us more flexible as we age.
So does eating meat. Lots of it. Well, you would think, the famous remark is you are what you eat, right?
Yeah.
So do you want to be a plant or do you want to be an animal?
What does that make Chris?
He's kind of a plant animal.
He's going to kill us.
Oh, yeah. That's if he listens to it. Watch. Yeah. He hasn't made a remark yet about some of the stuff we've said, but it's coming.
He's been mousing around at Disney World. He can't help it.
Mm-hmm. That's where he got the tube stuck.
That's right.
So Debbie says, many people say that they do not eat sugar, yet they drink alcohol, eat breads and pasta. Some are either ignorant or lying to themselves. This is not to be mean. This is just to bring awareness. Even the fake sugars trick your mind and are just as bad. Yes, that's what I was saying before. Yeah. Carbohydrates have no purpose other than to be converted into sugar and insulin in your system. That's what they do. So even if you're not eating candy, even if you're not knowingly eating things with a sugar content, you're still eating things like pasta that is going to be converted into sugar by your body. That's what it does with carbohydrates. I think you have to look back to like hundreds of years to evolution, right? When certain things were available, fruits weren't available all year long. So humans ate certain things at different times, stored those sources of energy, and then went long hauls of time without having it. And we did this for, on this show, I cannot give you the official estimate. I would just say that it's happened for a very long fucking time. Much longer than the leisure that we've been experiencing this past 100 or so years. We've been living in luxury practically.
I mean, back in the old days, pioneer days, the wagon train, they barely had sweets. And if they did, it might just be on Christmas Day.
Yeah. And I am not used as the rise of white collar jobs is another detriment to human health. Sitting at a desk for 8 hours plus a day is terrible for health. Yes,
Very much so.
certainly is. I actually found out that, or I'm figuring out that that may have actually been what happened in my back.
Yeah.
And Debbie says, are you saying that Chris is a Venus flytrap? Yes. Mhm. If you put it near him, he'll eat it. Take that for what it means.
Yeah.
But
In amongst his colonoscopy.
But yeah, it's definitely. I mean, I don't know. We could say it until we're blue in the face. Everything seems to be, but again, that correlates into exactly what we were talking about before. The mass psychosis formation is that people are so confused. They have no clue which way they're getting bombarded from. They don't feel well. They're getting dizzy. They're on medications. They're on a medication to treat a medication. And then you're getting information from sources that aren't giving accurate information.
Yeah.
So when you start putting all of these things together, they're looking for one person to be the professional, one person to do all of the work for them because it's too much to research. And I have to admit, we talk about what the topic of the show is going to be every few days now that we're doing 2 a week. And even though we come up with plenty of things to talk about while we're on air, when we're not on air, it's hard to actually put everything together because there's so much.
Yes, there is.
Like for a conspiracy show like this, 24 episodes in, to say we don't know what we're going to talk about is crazy. There's just so much. There's absolutely so many things to talk about and hours of things we can talk about.
And between Lou, myself, and Chris, we've got so much in these heads.
Yep.
That literally we could probably talk for months without stopping.
Absolutely. We usually do when we get together in real
That's right.
life. We sit there and this is exactly what we talk about. It's funny.
Lou says goodbye to me. When I go to his house, he says goodbye to me like 20 times. And then before you know it, I got there at 7 and it's midnight.
That's why you're on the show. Because it may as well be put live. It would never end had it not been. I am not used as carbohydrates aren't necessarily the problem. Certain cultural diets have very high consumption of carbohydrates, such as an Italian diet, and there wasn't the same health issues as there are today. The issue is the GMO substitute ingredients. Even sugar is not as bad as people believe it to be. Sugary products have been in existence for longer than diabetes. Diabetes has become a major health issue. Yes, but what I'm talking about is the consumption and the amount of it.
Yeah.
They've even been talking about sugar added to the buns of fast food.
Something interesting to the sugar that he said, blackstrap molasses, like real wholesome organic blackstrap molasses, is the original form of sugar. All the good stuff, the vitamins and minerals and nutrients that didn't actually affect your teeth the way white bleached processed sugar did.
Right. We have all natural, I was going to say tree sap, maple syrup. And it's all natural, straight out of the tree. Marie had a friend whose father or grandfather had a place in upstate New York, and the maple trees, he'd just get it straight out of the tree.
Yeah.
And she had given us a bottle or two of it. And yeah, I'm not going to say you could tell an immediate difference, but in the long haul of using it, you can kind of see that there is a difference because your body reacts to it differently when it builds up repeatedly. You can eat something bad and not necessarily have an immediate reaction to it. Whereas once it's accumulated after a while and you've eaten it numerous times, then you actually start seeing the downside.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're having, the whole country's having health issues. I can't speak for the world. I haven't been really paying attention all that much. And Debbie says people were hunter-gatherers since the beginning of time. Indigenous people live to 100+ years because they eat what is in the closest mile. Yes. Mm-hmm. And they don't eat half as much as we do. We sit at a desk, stare at a computer, grab a snack. That's after we already had a sugary cereal to start the day. And here's the other funny thing. If you're substituting milk with something else, like almond milk or soy milk, there is additives in that, as well as it not being real milk. It's more like almond juice and soy juice. And I know it sounds disgusting. Lewis Black made a whole bit about it. It was fucking hysterical.
I do make the almond milk juice myself. We literally have it's called an almond cow. So we basically put it in there, push the button, and you've got almond milk when you're done, and it's just almonds and water.
That's not
And
real cow, you know.
yeah.
It's not a real cow. It's not a real milk. You're living in
Although
a
we
land
did have
of
some raw
illusion.
milk. We did get some raw milk from a farmer friend just recently. So many great properties, vitamins, nutrients, and the cream on the top. It was amazing.
I've got to try that again. I've been lactose intolerant for years, and we used to get whole milk when we were still living in Brooklyn, New York, and that's when I started having reactions. But then I remember there was one time that I went to an old friend's house named Rob, and he said, "Try this," and he gave me a glass of unpasteurized.
Yeah,
I think that's raw, right?
Yeah,
he gave me just raw milk, and from what I remember, I drank it and I didn't get the same issues.
Yeah.
But I kind of forgot about it.
Because it has probiotics in it and everything else. It's loaded with beneficial components.
Is the pasteurization like? What's the actual process of it?
They basically cook all the bacteria out of it that are good and all the properties of the milk, and then they add stuff to it.
So they're killing everything and then claiming they're adding the good things back.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a synthetic method.
Mm-hmm. And
really?
then they add hormones, growth hormones, and other things, and even like antibiotics, and depending on the cattle.
Isn't growth hormone already in the milk?
Now, there are some that don't have growth hormone added to it.
What does it depend on whether the cow is having calves or not?
That might be, but there's also the aspect of the ones that they inject with hormones.
Right. Well, that too.
To make them, yeah, that's the ones you don't want.
So Debbie also writes in, processed foods versus homemade from scratch Italian pasta is totally different. Laziness in the kitchen is a huge problem. We cook in our home. Well, Shane does most of it, but it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yes, Shane is not a bad cook. I'll give it to him. I cook hot dogs.
Going back to that, what he said a moment ago in the chat there in the comments about the bread and the Italian diet, that is very true. They don't have all the GMO stuff. It's all real organic food. Even if it's not called organic, it's still organic food because it was the old traditional way. And people could eat it for days with the extra virgin olive oil and everything, and the good fat composition and the hearty bread, and keep a nice slender weight, healthy, living to their 80s, 90s.
Well, I mean,
and then they come to the United States and they blow up like a balloon.
Yeah, he didn't exactly like point out which Italian diet, right? Because in the U.S., the Italian diet is not. It's the same thing as going to a Chinese food store here. Like, that's the McDonald's version of Chinese food. If you talk to people from Italy compared to people that have Italian food in the U.S., here it's a gorge fest. It's cheese everywhere. It's gigantic things of pasta and lasagna. Don't get me wrong, it's delicious. It's not the way most people in Italy eat. Like, correct. It's their style of food. The same way if you go to a Chinese food place, that's kind of the style that they eat, but it's not the actual food. Like, they're not eating there every day with all of the grease and the way it's being cooked and prepared. It's not the same. And if you speak to a lot of Italians, their pizza is a lot different than here too. It's a lot less greasy. It's a lot thinner. The crust is even thinner. The cheese is a lot more natural. Like, the actual Mediterranean / Italian style diet and stuff like that has a lot more clean oils in it. It's got a few more vegetables. It's very heavy with vinegar. I think most people, when they hear about Italian diet, they associate it immediately to pizzerias, giant stuffed crust dough. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they're equating to it an actual, like, in Italy, what somebody would be eating.
And plus, which is very Mediterranean. Consume a lot more fermented foods too.
Yep. And
which are loaded with a plethora of probiotics for the lower gut.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that helps reflux too.
And the funny thing about the glyphosate in the United States, well, actually, it's in a lot of different areas.
What is
around
glyphosate?
Glyphosate is the active ingredient in Roundup, which was actually a component of Agent Orange during the Vietnam War as a chemical warfare agent. And they tried to claim for years that, and paying off big pharma and government execs and whatnot, senators and congressmen, trying to get through the FDA to say that it was healthy and it wouldn't hurt anybody. But then they got all these studies, and now there's major class action lawsuits all across the world. And some places Monsanto is banned because they learned that glyphosate is actually considered an antibiotic now, actually kills the lower gut bacteria in your body, causing your immune system to crash, and then tumors develop, heart attacks, stroke, as well as like Crohn's and celiacs and a whole list of other issues, I'll say.
So they had people spraying this into their lawns so that day in, day out, they're
and
inhaling
your
it through their
killers.
windows.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you're rolling around in your yard, even your garden, because the way they set it up is they created these terminator genes. Well, that was one section. Those they would send to third world countries. They would only grow 1 year and then they would die. But the way they genetically modified the crop is that the seed itself had to be sprayed by glyphosate or Roundup to activate it so that it would actually grow. And then if you wouldn't spray it with that chemical, then it wouldn't grow. So that was a setup. And then, of course, all the fields that Monsanto used or the glyphosate was sprayed upon would set into the soil. And then later on, an organic farmer could come by and think that it's a clean field when still there's glyphosate residue in the soil, and you're still getting contaminated that way. Soy is one of the biggest for being contaminated with the glyphosate itself.
Really?
Yeah, soy is one of the biggest ones.
And then we're
not
eating
Not to mention it's a hormone disruptor, plus it's cheap. So they put it in everything, even pill capsules, even chocolate is soy lecithin.
Oh. That's very interesting.
Yeah. And they've been doing that since, the 60s, at least. Around the same time, that's when they used to put iodine in your flour, and then they switched it and put bromide in it. And bromide actually leaches iodine out of your body, causing goiters to form and thyroid conditions to develop.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Add the fluoride to the water, which coats and calcifies the pineal gland, which regulates the thyroid. Then you add more issues.
Woo.
All around the same time. And then they put iodine in bleached white salt, which actually causes heart disease, where Himalayan pink salt actually has all the mineral compositions to it to help regulate your body the way it's meant to and doesn't cause the heart disease.
I didn't know.
So they did a lot of bad things to set up people for a domino effect of health issues.
It sounds that way because, again, you're getting hit on every end. You're getting assaulted, and they're telling you that soy's great for you, meat is bad for you, and eat all of these vegan products or vegetarian products, and then you end up finding it's disrupting things. That's the road right now I'm starting to learn the hard way is that.
Yeah. That soy itself basically disrupting the hormones in your body. Say you did work out and say you had a weight issue and you were trying to figure out how to change that, or you wanted to lower the age of your body internally. Well, if you were consuming soy and you're trying to work out to do resistance training to create human growth hormone, that soy could actually block the process of the human growth hormone creating.
That's pretty messed up.
And then it can take up to 6 months or so for soy to get out of your body.
Yeah, which is why I guess the diet I'm going on, they're saying leave it all the way until stick with it for a few months. You'll start feeling something pretty quick, but you really have to long haul it or else it's not going to do what it was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Clear
and by the way,
everything.
I'm going to say the same thing Lou said. I'm not claiming to be a medical expert. I am no doctor. I just studied a lot of things on my own, tested things as a guinea pig on myself, going through many different processes over the past 20, 30 years until I figured out what was best for me. And you could see from the pictures my progress after being a cancer survivor, losing my mom when I was 20 years old, having cancer 8 months after she died. Then my sister later on going through many health issues to where a doctor lied to her and destroyed her digestive system, and basically a slow 4 years of a horrible death, literally ending up 70 pounds, dying at 46 years old. I've seen what bad health could do and bad food could do and bad medicine can do. And then going away from that bad medicine, going all organic, all natural, all real, figuring things out on my own is how I became my healthiest. And people have argued with me who want to believe in that old way because they want to keep so much faith in it. They don't want to have doubt in that. They don't want to think that somebody would be lying to them for the benefit of money. They want to believe that those people out there really do care about them when most of them don't. And I'm not saying that all of them would say that they don't care deep down, but I'm saying some of those doctors probably really do care and probably got into it for the right reasons, but there's many that do it for the money, and that's it.
Yeah, I had known a lot of that stuff, but yeah, I think I would see things the exact same way if I were in your position. Luckily I've been more fortunate than that, but yeah, it's pretty heavy. And as I've said, over the past like month and a half or so, I've been leaning kind of into this, and I'm already starting to see things, and me and you've been talking about it a lot. Yeah. Stuff that's just happening. And I was telling a lot of my family this last Sunday, the same thing, that certain things are changing. Certain things are kind of fixing themselves. Certain urges are going away. I'm not doing like this, I quit, and I'm going to clench my fists and fight myself to not have to consume something. Like the urges are actually dissipating. And I'm actually kind of talking about it, not to self-hypnotize myself into continuing it, but because I'm actually seeing the result and I'm starting to understand why it happened. And I'm kind of like excited to talk about it because it's like mind blowing to me to do the total opposite of what I've been professionally told to do. And then starting to actually see results after a very long time of trying to figure out what the issues were. So Debbie says, getting back to the laziness in the kitchen started, in my opinion, she had other stuff in here. Yes, she threw 3 comments in. So she said, also the feed that they give cattle and other farm animals have variables. Farmers giving their animals feed from certain sources, thinking that those animals are healthy, are giving those animals GMO feed. That GMO feed is then in the meat we eat. Buy grass-fed, clean, local food. Getting back to the laziness in the kitchen started, in my opinion, during World War II when women went to work and more processed foods, TV dinners, fast food restaurants became the replacement of home cooking. Doctors could not figure out that Shane was hypoglycemic after multiple ER visits. We figured it out, and it is now in full control. Yes, and I just said I was having sugar issues, a lot of sugar issues. I am not you also says sources are different and sauces are different and less cheese, but they eat pasta and breads as a staple of their diet. As it was pointed out, I believe by Debbie, the pasta is freshly made with natural ingredients. Again, the major issue being GMO and other substitute ingredients. The term carbohydrate is too broad a term to simply state that carbohydrates are not good for a human diet. So yeah, and also on the topic, Debbie had sent this over and I brought it up a few minutes ago. So raw milk benefits skin, allergies, and immunity. And the article actually starts out the same way we're talking right now. If you've been told that drinking raw milk is dangerous, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised to know that you've been misled. The truth about raw milk, an extensive look into research and claims made by the FDA and CDC related to raw milk being dangerous have been found to be completely unwarranted. It actually benefits your body in many ways. And although it might have earned a reputation among some for being dangerous, you shouldn't miss out on all this amazing superfood has to offer because raw milk benefits are truly impressive. I was watching a doctor recently, and he started talking about bacon. And I was actually talking to somebody the other night, and they were mentioning to me bear grease. I grew up in New York, so I didn't even know what he was talking about. He said in the South, there's a thing about how bear grease used to be very valuable because people used to eat bear and they used to use the grease the same way people use bacon grease to cook and do other things with it. And
That's very interesting. I didn't know that.
I've heard the saying once or twice since I've moved here because I work in country music venues and stuff like that. So I've heard the term, but I can't put, a value on it. I didn't know what the fuck it really meant. I didn't know many people even eat bear, because anytime you talk to people who hunt, it's always deer or it's elk. They never hunt bear and eat bear. And actually, I wonder what bear tastes like. And he had mentioned that people would cook with the bear grease. And going into what I'm going into now, everybody on TV says stay away from bacon, heart disease, cholesterol. You're going to have a heart attack. And now I'm finding all these people that eat tons of bacon because of exactly what they tell you is going to kill you.
Well, the other stuff, you leave home with the bare essentials or you get in a grisly situation.
That's what just happened. Yeah. So what exactly, before I continue with the article, I just saw Debbie's comment again. What is hypoglycemic exactly?
Basically, it's a situation very much similar to the insulin resistance not shutting off, but your sugar levels spike and then they crash. And when it crashes, you pass out cold, black. I actually hit the floor a few times.
Oh my God.
Basically blacked out. And it started with tripping on my dad's back porch a few years ago. And the injury caused my body to react in a way that it wanted to take all the sugar reserves, almost like the glucose into the cell for energy, because of the reaction of the damage to torn and ripped ligaments and muscle around my side.
Mm-hmm.
And basically I blacked out then, and they thought maybe it was an issue with my body overreacting to the pain, but it wasn't. And we went to a hospital by ambulance for that night. That was really fun. And then they had me sign this contract and say, yeah, just sign here. Oh, the helicopter's going to be here in 20 minutes. I'm like, what? Which that was just a little gimmick for them to get some more money for extra tests that they didn't need, that they could have performed at that hospital. We learned later.
Did you have medical insurance at this time?
Oh, yeah, thankfully. But we got to the Cleveland Metro at that time because we were up in Ohio. And then the doctor's like, why did they fly you here? They didn't need to fly you here. You had all the tests done there at the hospital that you needed. And they stabilized me, sent me home, and that was that. And they still didn't tell me that it was hypoglycemia. And then later on, getting down here is when we researched it more. And because I had another situation where I passed out again, and it was all related to sugar levels. And basically my body wasn't leveling off correctly due to insulin issues. And I just pretty much collapsed because my sugar bottomed out. And it's actually a precursor to diabetes, which there's diabetes in my family. And once we figured it out and altered the diet, then I was fine. I didn't have any more issues.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But
yeah.
It's funny. You go to the doctor, they hook you up to all these different tests, run you through CT scans, the MRI, all these other things, and they test you for drugs. Why would they test you for drugs? And this didn't happen in just one occurrence. It happened a couple different times or so. They always tested for drugs to see if I was on something instead of checking other levels to see if it could be insulin or something like that.
I think they normally do that. I think that's just protocol that they do that.
Yeah.
They check for everything.
And we learned that whoever you're going in to see, whether it's basically who's on staff that night, whether that person was focused on urology or if that person was ear, nose, and throat or something like that. That's the diagnosis you're going to get because that was their only special area of study.
Is that how it works down here?
Oh, yeah. That's what we learned.
Oh, man.
That came from a doctor themselves telling us that.
So you're just getting whomever's there at that hour.
Yeah. So based on their diagnosis for their area of study.
So when Chris went for the flush, could he have actually gotten an ENT instead? And that's why the hose got stuck? He really didn't know what was going on. He's like, can you breathe? Can you breathe? And then just...
I at first I thought that's why the mouse got stuck. Was that what the
Oh my God.
or was it a hamster? No, just
Now,
kidding.
now we're taking this to new levels.
Boy, oh boy.
But yeah, so yeah, this is saying
If
right
only
here.
he watches this show, he's
So this says right here, what is raw milk? It's milk that comes from grass-fed cows, is unpasteurized and unhomogenized. Homogenized?
unhomogenized, yeah.
Unhomogenized. This means raw milk contains all of its natural enzymes, fatty acids, vitamins, and minerals, making it what many refer to be as a complete food. But can't raw milk cause problems due to the risk of consuming bacteria? The risk of this happening is very, very low. In fact, according to medical researcher Dr. Ted Beals, MD, you are 35,000 times more likely to get sick from other foods than you are from raw milk.
Yep.
The CDC reports that there are an estimated 48 million foodborne illnesses diagnosed each year. Of these 48 million illnesses, only about 42, so that's about 0.0005% each year, are due to the consumption of fresh, unprocessed raw milk. That's incredible. Dr. Chris Kessler did a thorough investigation to get the true impact of raw milk illness and death, as the CDC makes it sound inevitable, and found that your chances of becoming hospitalized from a bacterial illness caused by raw milk is 3 times less than your chance of dying in a plane crash. In fact, he discovered that you have a better chance of death by infection from raw oysters than you do of ever getting sick from raw milk. I'd have to do some more research into this. I noticed he's the co-founder of Ancient Nutrition. I've heard of that website. They're very, very what would the term be that I would use? Very caveman, which I really can't argue against.
Now, there was a situation back in the old days. I'm trying to remember what I was trying to look it up real quick if I could find it. I don't remember if it was like milkweed or something like that. It was basically back in the 18 or 1900s. It was a milk sickness. Oh, that's what it's snake root. It actually is what killed Abraham Lincoln's mother. And white snake root was a plant that would grow out in the field.
Mm-hmm.
And basically grows 18 to 48 inches high with like fluffy snow white flowers, and the cows would eat it. And if it was in your field and the cow ate it and then you milked the cow and then you drank the milk,
It was
basically it created a milk sickness and people would get poisoned by it. So that's when farmers had to come to realize not to let cows graze freely, eating anything they want to. They had to make sure that that white snake root wasn't in the field.
Now, is that also why they started really pasteurizing?
I think so. I think that was one of the precursors to it.
So instead of them just watching their animals heavier, they just decided to change the whole point of the food, because we know that boiling the food changes the construct. Everybody
does.
knows that.
Just like the microwave does, which people often do. It's a really bad habit, and it actually alters the state of the food that you consume, making it very unhealthy for you.
Wow. And I am not you says it's hard to know or trust anything you read anymore. I've read several times that there is no benefit whatsoever for anyone past infancy to drink milk.
Yeah, I have too.
Really?
Yeah, I've read that many times and been told that many times.
That there's no benefit at all.
That's what I've been told.
Because, well, that's why I was asking about the growth hormone. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
cows wouldn't make human growth hormone, but there would have to be some type of growth hormone in it because...
Well, they make natural hormones, of course, but then these farms or companies, if you will, started synthesizing and injecting cows with growth hormones. And that growth hormone basically spread on to the human population,
Right.
causing other growths and developments to occur that shouldn't have. Even a farmer told me about it years ago when I worked at Guitar Center in Nashville. And he came in and had a long conversation with me. he said that literally he noticed from the time that he started farming when he was young to his late age that he literally grew because of consuming his own cows products 3 or 4 shoe sizes in the span of so many years from all the growth hormone that he consumed.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And he was injecting the cows himself.
Yeah.
Now, was that something that the FDA, was that something optional that he felt that he was giving an added benefit to his milk? Or was it the CDC that, or the...
That I don't know. I didn't ask him that, but I know that the FDA basically overlooks a lot of processes. Even the organic farmers, we hear stories about how they're almost, well, let's just say they're poorly treated and put through strict regimens, and they charge a great deal of money to just come and watch the process of how things are done. Just like thousands and thousands of dollars just to give them the stamp of approval to allow them to sell their product.
Really?
Yeah.
So
they're almost like mobsters.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what the government is. It's a big mafia. That's all
time.
it is.
Yeah.
So and Debbie also wrote, my surgeon from here who trained in Pittsburgh told us that after I was misdiagnosed, that hypoglycemia is pre-diabetes, basically. I think that's what she was saying. It was 2 different comments. And then she says, mainstream tells us this is about raw milk. If you think about it, why would they not tell us this? Why would they want us to eat, drink anything that is a superfood? Yeah, why would they want us to drink something that they know is better? It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, they just want to keep you sick, and then they can charge you to treat you. And the less the less time you spend on the earth, the better for them. Because once you retire, that's it. You're just going to milk the system, right? Unless you've been unbelievably.
Was that pun intended?
No, that wasn't. I didn't do a Shane, but
that would have been utterly great.
But no, I guess it makes sense. And if you notice that in the recent pandemic, that was really the people that got knocked off immediately. I mean, that would logically make sense had it been 100% real regardless. But yeah, it just wiped them out everywhere. It was the number one group of people that were going.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I think, I don't know. Do you have anything to add at this time? Do you want to run over anything with the people before we, take a hike-sies?
I mean, I was just going to mention that, in the coming weeks, we're going to obviously do a show on Earth catastrophism and the micronova, and we're going to talk about Disney and go through all of that. I can't remember all the other show ideas we've talked about, and of course, we still take suggestions as well to add in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If there's anything anybody wants us to talk about, please let us know. Throw it in the comments. Contact me during the week with any questions you might have or anything. Even if people want to kind of call in, we do have a call-in number. I guess at this point, there's no point in saying it out loud. We'll announce it, early in the next episode and during the next episode. So if people want to call in, we do respond to comments in real time, or I would say maybe a minute, 2 minutes after, depending upon which platform I'm looking at the moment.
And I still want to really do a show on the Montauk and the Philadelphia experiment.
Yes, we should, just like the meeting we had in the past week, we should map them out.
Yes.
So let's see. If you think about it from a natural perspective, all right, I already read that. I Am Not You also says, I want to see more from the Bigfoot guy. Yes, we could definitely do that.
Yes.
I can have some of that queued up for Friday. I am not sure. Shane, you won't be with us on Friday, correct?
This Friday, I can't, no.
So you're going to the same doctor that Chris just went to.
But I'm actually preparing for Mule Day.
Oh, man.
for the next day. Not to make an ass of myself, but I mean, I'm just kidding.
That's natural.
That's right.
You do things naturally, Shane. But yeah, so let's see. And Debbie also wrote, my surgeon said that about being diagnosed for what the doctors are training to be. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so whenever you get a medical doctor, it's just going to be what they are actually.
Based on their area of study.
That's great to know. Yeah, well, it actually is. But yeah, where can they find you, Shane?
You can find me at www.remraf.com. It's farmer spelled backwards, just in case that helps. And be sure to check out the partner page. That's where, if you follow any of those links and see something you like, you can browse those sites, and that will help us to keep going and doing what we're doing. And basically with that, there's also links to my music. You see a little explanation about us there too. But the partner page itself has links to anything from the For Patriots site for backup generators, food supply. If you see that mud water there, that stuff's phenomenal, by the way. It's a great alternative to coffee. And then, of course, there's a few CBD products there, and there's some vitamins from another link down below. But please check them out and just give it a whirl and do everything you can to better your health, because only you can do that.
Awesome. And I also want to give the reminder to everybody, we do not run any type of commercials. We do not make money off of this website. Not to say that we wouldn't take some type of endorsement or monetization, but at the time we do not do that, which is why you don't deal with the commercials or things getting shoved down your throat. Here's the CamarillaCafe.com website. Check it out. We have all of the links to all of our social media right here, which will soon start becoming populated. Down like one of the first options here is the Discord. We're always watching that Discord, even though it's been a little quiet recently. Come join us over there. I always post new news articles on there. We have a plethora of different subjects that you can jump into, different messaging boards on there. Then underneath it, you can catch us on our podcasting platforms. With Captivate, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. So you can listen to us on the way to work, you know, start to a great day. And yeah, I guess we'll see them, or I'll see you guys on Friday. And then Shane, we're back on Monday, all three of us, right?
That's right.
That'll be awesome. So, yep. We hope everybody has a great week. Trust nothing,
Yes.
Question everything. And we'll see you Friday and Monday.
Yes. Take care.
Thank you for being here.